All right. So, hope that everyone is doing well here. Uh, do an audio check. Can you guys hear me all right? Let me know in the little comment bar to the side. We'll kind of give people time to jump in. Somebody, okay, sounding good. All right, good deal. Good deal.
All right.
Yeah, so this live is going to be a little bit different. Haven't done one of these in a while, and obviously got Eric with me.
Hello.
Gets a little boring with just me, so it'll be nice to have somebody else in here to kind of bounce things off of. I'm going to get to the questions here in just a minute. We'll give people time to kind of roll in. Holy cow, we just had a whole bunch of people jump in.
Yeah.
Dead gum.
Wow.
I saw somebody just comment. So this is the first time Eric's done one of these live things, and he's going to get to see how crazy it gets in the comments trying to keep up with anything. Anyone else love shopping in Eric's store? Yeah, Eric's always got always has some cool stuff that's jumping up. So hey, we'll take any questions. First, though, I wanted to put it out on, or I put a question out on Patreon, or said that we were going to do this, and said that I'd give priority to the people who were supporters on Patreon. The Patreon people who support my channel are like the best people in the world, and I just neglect and abuse them. It's awful, and I feel terrible. So anyway, gave them a chance to submit some questions, and thought that we would address those first. I've already looked at them. Eric has no idea what's coming. So anyway, so this one comes from Mark, and he says, "Hi guys, World War II question for you. We talk a lot about the souvenirs that vets brought back from Europe and the South Pacific, so we have quite a few episodes of American Artifact that focus on that." It says, "Here's now the question: how did they manage collecting and carrying all that stuff? Some GIs must have been like old West chuck wagons marching across to Europe. That's exactly what I would have been like." So asking, did they box it up and things like that? Yeah. So anyway, how did they get all that stuff back?
Well, they mailed it home in most cases, but some guys actually did carry things back in their duffel bag. A lot of people who know me and read my books, they know I'm friends with Brad Freeman, and I was going through some of his papers that his family were showing me recently. I went down to visit his family last week. Sadly, he passed last summer. And they were showing me some things, and there was some capture papers that he had. And he had always talked about having a Luger that he had brought home and some other things. And on the capture paper, there was the initial sign off by Lieutenant Peacock, actually, which I thought was very interesting. But then there was another paper from when he came through customs, and it said method of transport it said duffel bag. So he actually carried the Luger, and there was another pistol, I believe a 380 or something, and a German camera he had brought home. Now those items are long gone. He ended up not keeping those items, but that, some things were carried back. I've heard stories of some of the men when they came back from, and they got into the harbor in New York, there was an announcement made. So, hey, if any of you guys have any illegal stuff, you have to have capture papers. Now's the time to get rid of it. And there was all kinds of machine guns and stuff flying over the side of the boat in New York Harbor and stuff like that. But I would say the majority of the items, especially except for the items at the very end of the war, would have been mailed home through an Army post office.
I actually just recently got a box at the show of shows that a guy had taken like this ammo crate and put a whole bunch of stuff in it and mailed it back. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question. This one comes from James. What's one place Civil War related that you haven't been to yet, or that you would like to visit and film? For me, that would be the crater at Petersburg. I haven't been there, and I haven't been to Vicksburg either.
Shiloh.
Shiloh's cool.
Yeah, you've been there?
Shiloh it's like very wild. I mean, it's way the heck out there.
I want to go there.
Chris from Vlogging Through History actually just went to Shiloh.
Cool.
And has some good stuff. All right, let me jump to this next one. Let's see. Looking forward. Oh, this is from Vicky. Looking forward to your content from Gettysburg 160 in July. Yes, by the way, I'm going to be coming to the Gettysburg 160 events. Be watching. We've got some stuff planned that we're putting together, and some like group meetups and things like that, and seminars or whatever, panel discussions that I think you'll like. Hope you get to do some collabs with Gary Edelman. Might be working on something there. Videos and content are amazing. Oh, okay. So there's no question here, just some kind words. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. First question for Eric. This is from Emily. You've mentioned in previous videos how you started collecting artifacts on your own, and that you received some from family members. That would be from Peffer collection, Civil War stuff. And I believe he said that the house that is the current day Gettysburg Museum of History has always been in the family. She said she would like to hear more about the family history with Battle of Gettysburg, specifically where the museum is now. That's funny. We were actually talking about that today. We were like, yeah, we need to make a video about this.
Yeah, and we we will do that eventually. We're planning on doing some more of the Peffer content. We actually shot a couple of interesting things today. We just had 2 donations to the museum from a family member who had some of the items from the Peffer farm, or one item from the Peffer farm and one from the Sherfy farm. One of the Peffers married one of the Sherfy daughters, so we have an item that's coming in from that. I don't want to spill the beans too much, but it's pretty neat stuff. And so the house that we're currently in at the Gettysburg Museum of History, it's a Civil War house, but it was added on to, so it was a very small structure during the Civil War, and it was a guest house for the house next to us, which would be 217 Baltimore Street, I believe it is. And so it was originally a log cabin and brick building. It was added on to, it was only a single story, I believe, during the battle. There was a tenant in there, and the only account we really have, since you can't really look up tenants because of the tax records are only for owners and things like that. It's really difficult when it's a tenant. But we do have an account from a lady across the street who talked about before the Battle of Gettysburg, when the Confederates came in right before the battle, and Jubal Early's raid, I guess they call it, and they were holding the town hostage or whatever, and they went and took some horses, and there's stories about that, but they had tried to take this lady's horses that was living there, and they called her she had a German broad accent, and but that they don't name her, unfortunately, and I myself and Tim Smith, actually, from the Adams County Historical Society, helped me try to research this, because that's where the account is. And I can't remember the person who wrote the account. I have it copied in our files somewhere. But that's really, we don't know a lot about what was going on during the battle. There's no accounts of it being a hospital or anything like that. I believe the people stayed. Maybe they went into their cellar. They were worried about their horses, that's for sure. She said they were 2 prize mares, so they must have been nice horses. But my family obtained the house around 1939. Our family home at Ziegler's Grove was taken by the government at the beginning of the 20th century. It was actually the only case of eminent domain that went to the state Supreme Court. They actually challenged it, but of course they lost. And there's actually volumes of court testimony at the National Park Archives that are very interesting. And so they initially moved to another house on Baltimore Street. I think it was 330 Baltimore Street, if I remember correctly. And then in 1939, they bought 219 Baltimore Street. Before that, it was owned by, I believe it was Dr. Stock. The Stock family owned it. I believe he was a physician. So they renovated it, moved in. My grandfather became mayor in 1940, I believe it was. And so he had just become mayor, and they moved in. And it was set up as 2 apartments, the upstairs and the downstairs. My great grandparents lived in the downstairs where the museum is now. And my grandparents lived in the upstairs. So my great grandparents lived in there, my grandparents lived in there, and my mother grew up there. And then when my grandparents passed away, we rented it for a while to college students, and also the downstairs apartment was rented after my great grandparents passed away in 1960, I believe it was, to two Secret Service agents that worked for General Eisenhower, President
damn.
Eisenhower.
I didn't know that.
And yeah. And so the Gettysburg Museum of History, as it is today, was actually rented to some Secret Service guys and part of Eisenhower's detail. And, you know, a lot of people who know me, a lot of you people won't know this, but my grandfather became friends with Eisenhower, you know, being involved with politics and all that stuff. And so I don't know if that's why these Secret Service agents ended up there, but they did live there for a while. And then there was another man that lived down there when I was a kid. I remember seeing him. His name was Mr. Weaver, Charles Weaver, not the famous one that had a museum here, but another guy. I think he had a store downtown for a while. And then anyway, we were renting it to college students and all that. And then my mother finally said, either, you know, because I said I was going to renovate it and do something with it. And she said, well, it's either you need to do that or I think we should sell it. And I said, well, I don't want you to sell it. So I renovated the building. I sold another house that I had and used that money to renovate the building. So there it is. That's kind of a long story. We will be doing some videos on that, but that's the history of the museum now. And might be a good time to say, you know, we bought the building next door, not 217, but 220, what is it? 223, I believe it is, where the crystal shop is, and the giant red barn that's back there that's all renovated. So we're going to store our archives back there, and the crystal wand's going to stay there for a little while. They have a pretty long-term lease, so I'm a landlord for a little bit, but once they leave and find another place, we're going to start using that facility also, and we're going to use both buildings in some capacity. And we have some plans to build JD a studio up in the back in where the brick barn is back there that's renovated. So we got some big plans coming up. And, you know, people who have been to the museum know that we're out of room. And unfortunately, all the great things I've gotten in the last year or two have been put into storage because we just don't have the room. So hopefully with this new acquisition of a bigger building, we're going to be able to exhibit a lot more stuff. We're going to be able to have a lot more access to our archives, you know, our photo archives, all our documents and that kind of stuff. And hopefully, you know, within the next couple of years, we're going to be able to have a research room and things like that.
Okay, cool. All right. She had a follow-up question for me. She said, you've mentioned your grandfather before and his military background. And she says, I love hearing personal connections to history. If you don't mind sharing about his service, and if you've done any visits of your filming trips regarding his service. So on both sides, my grandfathers were in the service. So on my dad's side, my grandpa was in World War II, and he was in Alaska Command and was up on Adak Island. And I have intentions of going up there at some point and going to, you know, where he was stationed. But at the same time, I also want to try and go to Attu and Kiska, which is a very involved trip. And I also want to go shoot a caribou while I'm up there too. So anyway, that's something that's going to take a lot of planning. And then on my mom's side, my grandpa was in the 40th Infantry Division. He was a combat engineer in the Korean War. And yeah, I definitely want to go and again to South Korea and kind of retrace some of his steps. He also did some training in Japan right before he went into Korea. And I have a picture of him. He had got like a 3-day pass or a 2-day pass or something, and had gone to Hiroshima. So I have a picture of him on the bridge with the atomic dome in the background. And I've gone on Google Earth and found it. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's a little bit about my grandpa's. All right, let's see. Another one. What has been the most difficult adjustment that you had to make due to your increased following? Man, that's
interesting.
Tough one. Probably the most difficult thing for me is the demand that I put on myself. So there's nothing that requires me to put out, so many videos a week or anything on a certain time schedule or anything like that. But I put an immense amount of pressure on myself to try and have a rhythm, with the amount of videos that I put out, and also trying to maintain the quality and do better. But I mean, as far as any other pressures than that, as far as like with an increased following, I do try and be a little bit more aware, as far as like privacy and things like that. I maybe didn't really have those thoughts in the beginning. But anyway, yeah, interesting question. Thanks. That's from Mike. Let's see. Here's another one. Enjoyed the recent videos in Louisville, which is where I live. This is from Marty. He says he can remember when Zachary Taylor was exhumed. Yeah, we talk about that in the video when we go to Zachary Taylor's grave. I was wondering if you have ever been to Andersonville in Georgia. Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, if you go to History Traveler episodes 87, 88, and 89, those are all at Andersonville. But I didn't get to go to the POW museum while I was there because it was closed down, because that was in 2020. So COVID had it shut down, unfortunately. So I try and I need to do a better job at this. I have some playlists on the channel where some of these videos are, kind of buried deep now. But you can go to those playlists, and there's like a Civil War playlist. I just made a Band of Brothers and Easy Company playlist to hopefully make those videos a little bit more accessible and easier to find. But you can always go to the search and type in, like, for example, History Traveler Andersonville, if you're wondering if I've been someplace. And you can check it there. All right. Well, I'll try and catch some of these questions in the comments.
Real quick, since I've never done that before. So there's been while we were doing the Patreon ones, there's been some really good questions that came up, but are we able to go back, or do they kind of have to keep rolling?
I can go back, but they're going to keep rolling. Oh, by the way, History Savior, thank you for the super chat. Just kicking back and watching. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I saw a couple of super chats earlier, I think from a Brendan and a Sherry. Thank you guys for that. That's super helpful, and I appreciate it. One question that I saw earlier was favorite Band of Brothers Easy Company site that you've been to. For me, Eagle's Nest.
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I think for me, it's probably Breakcourt Manor because of my connection with the owner. I've forged such a great friendship with him. There's just something there's something just really special about that place, especially since both of my books had stuff about Breakcourt Manor, and I've really immersed myself into that. I mean, the Eagle's Nest is pretty cool too. I mean, that is definitely a cool thing, and probably one of my favorite World War II moments was when I went up there. I believe it was in 2017, the first time with Brad Freeman, and I was sitting there having lunch, and that was like my pinch me moment. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having lunch in the Eagle's Nest with a member of Easy Company 506. Wow, does it get any better than that? So that was one of my favorite moments. But it's really Breakcourt for me. That place is just magic for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I should have said that. All right, let's see, JD. With getting close to 500,000 subs, I'm thinking of how you'll reward yourself when you cross the big 500K protein cookie. Maybe. Do you have any World War II artifacts from Adak, Alaska?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I saw one about the books too. I wanted to address that. That was one of the good questions that came up. And it was a while ago, but somebody asked if I was doing any more books. And my co-author, Jared, and I are actually working on a third book based on Major Dick Winter's photo albums. And, we have the photo albums in the museum. And so we're going to publish them and also publish some of the other artifacts. And we were a good way through it. And then something amazing happened. Some of Major Dick Winter's maps and some of his paperwork did get separated. Some of his stuff, he sold items to different collectors, and I knew who had these. There was a whole file box from his files of a lot of his combat maps. We actually brought a couple of them with us on the Germany trip, and but anyway, I got all this stuff, and so it was really amazing stuff. So I had to include that in the photo album and scrapbook that we're doing. So we have to make some adjustments. So it's just taking a while. And Jared and I are signed to an agent and a publisher and all that stuff. So they let us out of our contract temporarily because publishers don't like coffee table books. They don't make a lot of money. They're expensive to produce, but they let us out of our contract temporarily to do this project. And so I'm going to self-publish it. And luckily I have the means to be able to market it because of the website and the museum and everything. So it'll probably be limited, but we're going to make it. It's going to be a big coffee table size book with all kinds of really great photos. And then after that, we have plans for a fourth book, which is an Easy Company version of the same thing. So we'll have the Dick Winters photo album and then the Easy Company photo album, and show all the artifacts. And so those two will come out in the next couple of years. Hopefully the Dick Winters one will be out next year, I think. And then, just since I mentioned Jared, he's also doing another book with a World War II aviator, I believe.
He was a crew member on a B-24.
Yeah, so Jared's going to have a book that he co-wrote with a veteran that's coming out also.
Yeah.
So
saw some comment. Somebody said that I look like Tom Selleck. Oh, hey, Stephen, thank you for the super chat. Y'all are awesome. Keep up the great work. Give us a heads up when you come to Texas for an Alamo series. I definitely want to get down to Texas for several different reasons. One, I've never been to the Alamo. I also want to get down and go to Dallas and go to Dealey Plaza and do some JFK content as well. Let's see, here's one. How's the plan to do some video on Audie Murphy coming? I would really like to do that. I would like to go to southern France, but that's going to be in the distant future. Trevor, Eric, can you describe how? Oh, okay. Well, I started it. Can you describe how your business has grown since pairing with JD? Hopefully, it hasn't gone down. This is a dangerous question.
No, I mean, visitation certainly increased a lot, and the website has steadily grown since we started. Partnering with JD was obviously a very great, way to market myself and the museum. So it's definitely helped a great bit, but mostly with visitation. I think a lot of people just weren't really aware of the museum, or I would get the same. A lot of times, people would come in and say, I've been coming to Gettysburg for 15 years and I never knew this place existed. Well, I don't do a lot of advertising. I don't put the ads out in all those magazines and stuff. I do put an ad in the little map that you get in town. But, we have a pretty big internet presence. So I'm always surprised to hear that. But I also think that a lot of the businesses in town don't really cooperate a whole lot, so they don't suggest other things. We do, I always suggest other museums because people ask that all the time. And, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely helped. Today we were doing some stuff and we were pretty busy because it was pouring raining here. It was a really kind of a bad day for weather. And so the museum was really busy. And I'll tell you, JD was like a rock star in there. I mean, we couldn't even move. Everybody's asking for pictures and stuff. It was pretty wild for a Sunday afternoon.
Okay, next question. Let's see. Mentioned my all-time favorite movie is Tombstone. Do I plan to go to Tombstone and film some videos? 100%. That's going to happen one of these days because, yeah. Here's another question. Do you have any plans for a video, Battle of Kings Mountain? Yes, because I have an ancestor who fought there. So, yeah, I definitely want to get to Kings Mountain.
I personally contribute to Erik's museum on a regular basis. Well, great. That's one of our customers, I'm sure.
Oh,
and we also have an educational foundation for the educational part, like for when we start scanning our files and all that stuff. So you can go to the website. If you don't collect militaria or artifacts, you can always go onto the website and go to the foundation section, and you can just donate, and we would be greatly appreciative of that also.
Here's a question about pre-ordering Erik's third book. No, it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
It's all in the idea phase right now. All right, question for Erik. I recently bought the Wilma Schaub letter and photo from the museum. How rare are the authentic autographed photos of Hitler? I've seen some pop up, but it's hard to gauge quantities. So how rare is a Hitler autograph?
Hitler signed a lot of stuff. He did. I mean, and Hitler autographs are one of my specialties, so I try to get them when I can. They're a very popular item on the website, and I'm pretty good at authenticating them, and I always have them looked at by at least 2 other people to make sure that they're 100% right. So I get them from time to time, maybe a few a year. I'm hopefully trying to get another one. I actually did just get one that I initially bought for resale, but I decided to keep it because it had the latest date I've ever seen on a Hitler document. It was signed, within weeks of his death, and it was about rearranging the whole chain of command for the defense of Berlin. So it was really spectacular. And I looked at it, I was like, okay, I bought this for resale. I can't sell this. I had to keep it. We had that Mein Kampf we did a video about that was signed in the bunker, and it was a very late date. This was even later than that, and this was signed in the Führer bunker. So I ended up keeping it. But I have a couple of Hitler autographs in our collection, and most of the other ones after that will be sold. And I remember there was a really nice photo that we did a video about, and then it ended up out in Missouri somewhere. So.
All right. I saw somebody ask a question. Do you have any interest in World War One?
I certainly do. Yeah. World War One. We have a big connection to World War One because it was they used our battlefield as the World War One training camp, and for the U.S. Tank Corps, and that was commanded by then Captain Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was the commander, and that's why he ended up moving back here. He fell in love with Gettysburg. So I'm really interested in that. My grandfather, who lived in the house that we're now in at the museum, was in World War One. So I definitely am very interested in it for sure.
Yeah, might have a video within the next week that kind of touches on the World War One training ground out here in Gettysburg. All right. I saw somebody earlier ask, what do you think is the rarest item in your museum?
Well, geez, that's hard to say because there's a lot of one of a kind items. So to gauge it by rarity, I mean, there's multiple one of a kind items. So, that's, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't like saying about value either, but I always think, like one of the most incredibly historic and probably would be valuable and rare if it would ever get sold, which it's not going to, would be, like Lincoln's wallet, that's up there as one of the rarest pieces. There's only 2 Lincoln wallets. The other one's in the Library of Congress. So that's pretty neat. And to think that he had that on him, through part of his presidency is just pretty amazing. Such a personal item,
Hitler's blood-soaked piece of fabric.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah. I mean, there's one other piece in the United States that I know of. It's in a big collection that's now archived. And the Russians have part of that couch in their archives, but I don't know how many small pieces are out there. I've never seen any except for the one I have and the big piece that I know of that's in another collection. And yeah, I mean, historically speaking, that's probably one of the most spectacular items because it does contain his DNA. We have done some work on that, but, we're doing a television show that keeps getting punted down the road. And, I keep having to re-sign my contract with them, but hopefully that'll get made soon. But, it does contain Hitler's DNA. So basically it's the only real source of Hitler's DNA. So if you want to do that kind of analysis, got to come to us.
Yeah. Emily, thank you for the super chat. I saw a few people, Sonder History in Your Hand. Both of those, by the way, are great YouTube channels. Sonder VK History and History in Your Hand. And a decent chance we're going to be doing a collaboration with both of those guys coming up very soon. But they said we need more World War One content on the channel. I 100% agree, and we are going to fix that this summer. I'm definitely going to some World War One sites. Let's see what else. Let's see, what's my, okay. So History Savior 1941, also a YouTube channel worth checking out. What's my personal favorite item in Erik's collection?
Oh boy.
Dear heavens, I don't know. Every time I go in there, I see something new. I've been there who knows how many times now. Um, Probably my favorite item, if I just had to name something off the top of my head, would be the Antietam obelisk.
Ah, yeah, that's a great piece.
That thing's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, you should let me buy that. I probably couldn't afford it. All right. Somebody said come to Eep or Ypres or Wipers or however you pronounce it. Yeah, I definitely want to come there at some point. Let's see. What about?
Let's talk about that for a minute.
What?
Pronunciation. One of the things that comes up in the comments all the time, especially from our friends over in England, is how we pronounce things. And I think it's really funny that people don't realize that people from different areas say things different. We think you guys in England talk really funny. You guys think we talk funny. You say ad off, we say aid off. It's like, it's just where you're from. And, you don't have to correct our pronunciation. It's like, and if you do, look and see how many other people have already done it, so you don't look ridiculous.
I do get butchered about that. That's all right. Let's see. Have you guys talked?
So they're already going on about it.
Are they? All right. Gazerturn. Regards from the UK. Thank you for the super chat. Karen Tremor JD always mispronounces things correctly. That is absolutely right. Let's see. I can answer the one question. Erik never met Dick Winters in person. Is this an appropriate time to bring up Concord?
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, we're talking about people in Europe. The people in Massachusetts. They're the ones who are brutal. And I'm going to say Concord until the day I die. Now, just out of spite. All right. Let's see. Will you both go to Belgium and make a Battle of the Bulge series?
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah, we just got back 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We went over there with 4 World War II veterans. Phenomenal experience. And then, yeah, we're going to be adding to that. So you can be looking for that content late in the year, like maybe late October, starting in November, because I still have a ton of work left to do on that. JD's mispronunciation is as funny as bumping his head. That's just mean. Let's see.
Dadgum my head.
Let's see. Have I gone to Anne Frank's grave? No, I have not, but that would definitely be a good one. One of these days we're gonna. I've seen some people ask about going to the Netherlands. I've never been there. Erik has, but we're gonna go there. We've talked about maybe next year going to the Netherlands, and I would love to film a bunch of stuff like that.
Where would you like to see your collection 100 years from now? That's a great question.
Really good question.
I really hope that at some point, we can raise funds to do a mega museum, kind of like the Adams County Historical Society just did. They had their collection in storage basically for a long time. Before that, they had it at the seminary before the seminary museum opened, and it was kind of like my museum. It was like in old cases, and it was kind of displayed that way. And all of a sudden, they were able to raise millions of dollars through generous donors, and make a really first class presentation. And that's what I hope will happen to my collection eventually. I did make the step to buy that building, but it's not big enough, and it's really in a historic building, so it's going to be not a mega facility, but I hope eventually, because it keeps growing and it keeps growing, and it needs to go into like a massive building at some point, and I hope that happens. I'm just thinking one of these days somebody like Elon Musk is going to walk through the door and he's going to be blown away. He's going to see this and say, this needs to be preserved, and I'll help you with that, and I'm hoping that happens. So I can dream, right?
Project Pass, thanks for the super chat. Also, another great YouTube channel that you all should check out. And yeah, hope to meet up at the 160th. Yeah, we definitely need to try and link up. I'm kind of doing a dual thing on Gettysburg 160. My family's going to be with me too, but we're going to have some different events that we're doing, and we haven't scheduled a time or anything, but we'll have like a meetup at the museum where people can come and check out stuff and say hi. So yeah, and I've never been to Gettysburg 160, but I hear it's quite the spectacle. Any plans for Native American content, South Dakota, Black Hills, Custer? I need to build out that part of the channel more than what there is. There's some. Any Native American content that I have attempted, man, something goes wrong with it. Very, very early in the channel, I went and did a video for the Sand Creek Massacre. It never saw the light of day because the wind was blowing 150 miles an hour that day, and it blew out all the audio. And then in South Dakota, like I have several videos in South Dakota and the Badlands, stuff like that. I was going to go to Wounded Knee. And again, that was when the pandemic stuff was going on and they closed down the borders to the reservation. So I couldn't get in there. So anytime I've tried to do something like that, it's just flopped on its head. All right. Let's see. Oh, Crystal, member for 6 months. Awesome. Love military history. What do you suggest as the best place to gain more knowledge? I'm going to say, for me, I'm going to say right here in Gettysburg. Like to me, either Gettysburg or Washington, D.C. There's so much history that is concentrated in both of those places that it can kind of take you down a rabbit hole and really help you understand a lot of other things. Do you have a different answer? Or?
No, I'm sorry. I was reading questions.
Oh, okay.
A great question came up about Vietnam. Like if we're going to do anything with Vietnam, and when we make the expansion of the museum, I have a lot of Vietnam items. Another person asked about Cold War items, and we have that too. It's just we don't have the room right now. We have very limited room, but we have a nice collection of Vietnam stuff. I collect special forces stuff, especially. So I have a pretty decent collection of named special forces items and other units as well. So that is something I plan on doing in the new annex to the museum. And there was another cool question up there about they just asked a question: what's my favorite Operation Market Garden artifact? And
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, it's got to be Dick Winter's M43 coat that he's wearing at Schoonderlock. I probably said that incorrectly. I will be corrected for that. But
Sander, did he say Schoonderlock? Correct. Yeah. We got some Dutch people on here.
Okay, but that picture of him standing at that archway is probably one of the most iconic Dick Winters photos. And the M43 coat, I mean, it's just amazing. And it had some modifications done to it. It has a map case sewn into the back, which is just amazing. Winters was smart. He didn't carry a map case. He tried to cover his collar brass. He tried to not stick out as an officer. He carried an M1 Garand instead of a Tommy gun or an M1 carbine. So he would look at a distance more like an enlisted man. So he may not, try to protect himself from being sniped, by snipers. So he was very smart like that, and it probably helped, save his life because, officers were a major target of snipers in World War II.
Ray, thank you for the super chat there. Appreciate that. Visiting small French villages reveals a commonality. Many have great war memorials. Yeah, a lot of those French places, when you go, there's some sort of Great War, World War I memorial. Yeah, definitely planning on hitting some of those places. I saw somebody mentioned Fredericksburg a couple of times. I'm definitely planning on getting to Fredericksburg. I've never been there before in my life, so I just need more time. Sherry, anything more on the 1815 war? Not at this time. No.
Asking for an American artifact episode on Vietnam artifacts. We were actually going to pull some of that stuff out today. So, yeah, we're probably going to do some of that. And somebody wrote, I can't find it now, about a dream artifact. Where did I see that?
I don't know what your dream artifact.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just say it.
So I made a deal to get one of the Hitler uniforms. So there's 3 known Hitler uniforms and in the United States, and I made a deal. Now I'm not going to get it for a while because it's very costly, and I'm going to make payments on it. But really, since that's kind of checked off at this point, even though I don't have it in my hand, I'd like to get one of, we have one of Audie Murphy's uniforms. We have Dick Winter's uniforms. I like uniforms. To me, they're very personal to the soldier, but I'd like to get one of Dwight Eisenhower's uniforms. That'd be cool. That would be up there for me.
That'd be cool. Any plans for more Revolutionary War stuff? Yes, definitely. So I'm trying to get more on like a little bit of a cycle where I have some World War II content, and then Civil War, and then maybe World War I, and then maybe some Old West stuff. So I'm trying to mix it up a little bit more. But yeah, I definitely want to come back around and do some Rev 4 content at some point. Probably picking up, early on in the war, but after Lexington and Concord and everything. Let's see. If you had to put, I don't think there's any way to even answer that question. Put a value on the entire collection. Yeah, that one. That would be impossible to answer.
With one-of-a-kind items, it's impossible unless you throw them into an auction, and we're not doing that. So
yeah. Let's see. Would really like to see something on Fort Sill in Oklahoma. Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be very cool. So, have you ever visited or adored Cerglane? So the place that Kevin is referring to there is a town in France that got completely wiped off the map by the 2nd SS Das Reich division. And yes, I do plan on going there. As a matter of fact, this summer, I'm hoping to. So
it's kind of like off the beaten path, and I've always wanted to go there myself, and I've been over there so many times, but it's really far from like just about everything.
It's not on the way to anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm going to have to make a special trip just to go down there, see that, and then go back and do something else. Let's see. The collaboration with American Battlefield and Dressing Gettysburg is fun. Hope to see more of that. Yeah, definitely. Love working with those guys. Somebody asked about a larger museum. Yeah, that's in the works. Just bought annex next door. Would you come see my town of New Bern, North Carolina, old capital of North Carolina? Lots of colonial and Civil War history. Yeah, I'll have to check into that. All right. So, JD, will you visit Woody in Normandy this summer? So that's in reference to Paul Woodage. And yeah, 100%. Paul and I have been talking. We're going to see, Erik and I are both going to see him towards the beginning of the summer. And then I'm probably going to circle back, and we're going to, I want to do some more inland stuff on the Battle of Normandy. A lot of places focus just on D-Day. And then you don't really hear too much about, the things that happened inland. And from an American perspective, you especially don't hear much about the Canadian and British things that happened in the Battle of Normandy. So anyway, yeah, I definitely want to link up with Paul, World War II TV. He's got an insane amount of knowledge.
Here's a good question about who gives the best tours of D-Day, OMG, Operation Market Garden, and Bastogne. Well, for Normandy, I would say Paul Woodage, if you can get him. Absolutely. He's one of the best, and if not the best, he's my favorite. And he's taught me a lot. And Operation Market Garden, Edwin Poppin is really good, and so is Ron Stassen. He's a good friend of mine. And for Bastogne, I would say Ron also, and Reg Jens. Reg Jens is, you can't top him for Bastogne. He's amazing and really good guy.
Just saw one asking if I've been to any of the Japanese internment camps, and the answer is yes. Went to one in Southeast Colorado. So it was called Amache, and let me just pull up the episode number. That was episode 31. Yeah. So if you go to YouTube and type in History Traveler Internment, it'll bring that video up. That's an old one. I mean, we're digging way back in the beginning. That was in 31, episode 31. But yeah, I do want to go to some other internment camps though, for sure.
There's a good question here. Is there any artifacts the museum declines or refuses to buy? Absolutely. And a lot of that is based on space. Like if you brought a tank up to the museum right now, I probably would refuse to buy it because I don't have the room for it. And other like large items, we decline a lot of, we get people offering us foot lockers and things like that. And we decline them even for donation. If we can't store it properly, we say no. And of course, there's also price. Sometimes people want too much money. Sometimes things are not really what they're saying they are. We will deny that. And, there's certain other things that just, I don't know. That's probably the biggest factor, though, is room right now. Even though we did get a new building, we're going to be able to get some more stuff in there. But, just some of those really big, bulky items, we usually deny those at this point.
Are you familiar with the UK magazine After the Battle? You are?
Oh yeah. I have lots of copies of that. That was an older magazine. I think they may have reignited it, but like in the 70s and 80s, that was one of the best magazines. And
never heard of it.
Yeah, and like if you get old issues of it, there's some really good material in there. So yes.
And holy cow, Estella, thank you so much for the super chat. That is
wow.
extremely kind of you. And it's got like some little cartoon. That's cool. Yeah, thank you. That really means a lot. Is the Farnsworth House Inn a good place to stay for the 160th anniversary? Absolutely, it is. If it's, I would really be surprised if there's anything available at the Farnsworth. But yeah, that's an amazing place to stay. I really enjoyed the time that I stood there, that I stayed there. Let's see.
Somebody said, "Is anything too creepy in the museum?" Probably not.
No. The answer is no.
Yeah, we're kind of known for having some pretty macabre things in there. Some, Hitler's blood, and we do have a mummy, an Egyptian mummy head, and shrunken head, and it doesn't really fit in with our scope that much, but they were brought back by Americans who were tourists who brought them back to the United States, and they were an artifact that you could buy back in the old days, and so I think they're fascinating, and people seem to like them, and a lot of people think they're illegal. They're not illegal. We wouldn't have it if it was illegal. They're 100% legal. So we have a shrunken head and a mummy. So come see it.
Here's something that I'll add to that. Some people go into a museum or they go into a collection and they see some of these items, and for example, maybe a leg bone with a bullet embedded in it that was sourced from like a burial pit where they buried body parts or something in the Civil War, and they think, oh, that is creepy, that is weird. Okay, what's the alternative? Is it to destroy that? I mean, even things that are a little bit strange to us or a little bit maybe macabre, it's still something that is of historic value. But anyway, all right, Stephen Rizzo, thank you for the super chat there. Appreciate that. And I saw another question. Oh my gosh, we got vlogging through history in here.
Oh wow,
good heavens. We'll be doing some work with him. Somebody had. Oh yeah, here we go. JD and Eric, how about a YouTuber HistoryCon? Historia. How about a YouTuber HistoryCon? It would be my ultimate nerd fest. I have actually thought about that.
That's a great idea.
And I think I kicked it out to a few different people. The logistics of it, I would just need some help. But yeah, I would love to have like a 3-day conference. Gettysburg would be ideal because there's so much that is right here. Bring in some experts to like give seminars and things like that. Yeah, so definitely that's something that has been in my head before.
I often thought about doing a Band of Brothers convention. I'm friends with some of the actors, and some of the people that worked on it. I'm certainly friends with a lot of the authors, and you know, I was thinking maybe we could test the waters with that and bring some of the YouTube guys in, and then,
Do like
you
a little
know,
combo
and
thing or
have
something.
some of the guides, you know, get a, well, maybe not Paul Wood. She probably wouldn't want to do a Band of Brothers thing, but maybe Reg or some of those guys, get them over here, maybe James Holland or somebody like that, you know, and get some personalities here. And certainly some of the actors, I'm sure, would do it. I mean, I'm sure Matthew Leach would love to come over here.
Yeah, he'd probably.
If we sent him a ticket.
Yeah.
And Jim Matteo, you know, he's a great guy. I did 2 European tours with him. Awesome guy. So yeah, maybe we could do something like that down the road.
Somebody's saying I got to show that Jocko label. Ooh, it's a body armor today. I couldn't get to a Wawa on the way up here to get any of the Jocko Goes. All right. James Holland, one of my favorite authors. Yeah, James
Great
Holland
guy.
is
Yeah.
good stuff. I've never met him personally, but
Yeah.
he came here and
Yeah.
went through some of your files. Didn't
Yeah, he accessed the Dick Winters files for his Normandy 1944 book. And I met him on a tour. We did a tour together in Europe, and we hit it off. And I told him I had this stuff, and yeah, he's amazing. And he was up at Carlisle, and he called me up and said, "Hey, are you in town?" I said, "I'm coming to Gettysburg." And he actually came here twice, and he wrote a little blog post about my museum on his blog. So yeah, great guy. He is just a wealth of information. You know, I really you know, he's the kind of guy, when he starts talking, I just don't even talk, because he is so smart. It's just unbelievable, you know, and I just listen, you know, which is hard to believe.
Somebody just asked JD, any new books that you can recommend? Yeah, absolutely. It's upstairs right now, but I took a picture and put it on Instagram the other day or yesterday. This one right here, Angels Against the Sun, is the book that I'm reading right now by James Fenlon. It just came out. It's about the 11th Airborne, and holy smokes, it's good. It is a really good book. So if you're looking for like a new book, that's one that I would definitely recommend. And
I was recommended one last night by Jared Frederick and his buddy. If You Survive, I wrote that down. That's an older book, but it's about the 4th Infantry Division, and they were telling me about it, and I can't believe I've never read it, but I ordered it on Amazon today, so I will read it. So.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have that one too.
Yeah.
I just finished reading before this one, The Sharp End, I think. It's by Tim Cook. It's about the Canadians in World War I, and that was really good. Okay. Let's see. Have you considered doing a tour through Monticello, Montpelier, 3rd and 4th presidents? Yep. So I'm eventually going to hit all those presidential sites. Oh yeah, Lisa picked up Angels Against the Sun. It is a fine book. Somebody says their dad was 11th Airborne on Luzon. My doctor, when I was a kid, was at the Los Banos prison camp, and was liberated by the guys from the 11th Airborne. His parents were missionaries, and they got overran by the Japanese at the beginning of World War II, and were there for the duration of the war. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. Hey, look, there's Doug Barber.
Oh wow, hey Doug.
Let's see, JD, your energy and productivity are admirable. Oh, I don't feel like I have much energy these days. How do you successfully juggle your teaching duties with what looks to be a very busy production schedule? Okay. I don't sleep very much. Yeah. So, with like going out and filming, I'll like the channel makes it look like I just travel all the time, and I really don't. I travel quite a bit, but not as much as what it might seem. So I might go on a 1-week trip, and I'm filming daylight to dark, and I gather up a whole bunch of content that will maybe last me for 2 or 3 months. But then I wake up early. I'm up at about 4:30 every morning, and I've been doing the video production for long enough now that I'm, there's not really much of a learning curve. But it is a difficult balance for sure.
somebody wrote that somebody grandpa was in Buchenwald and he had some amazing artifacts I'd like to get rid of. Info at Gettysburg Museum of History.com. Send us some pictures. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, we were actually at Buchenwald on this
Yeah.
last trip,
Yeah.
and amazing place. Let's see. They're moving French and Indian War content. Yeah, I need to do that. I've got one video that deals with the French and Indian War, and that's an important one. Really, you can consider that part of the First World War, like before World War I. Like this was the first global conflict. So yeah, I definitely need to dig in on that. Let's see. I'll follow up, Doug. I feel like you're passionate. To history teaching. Would you ever consider full-time YouTube career? Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one. Here's one from Chris at Vlogging Through History. Erik, are you planning to take anything interesting with you to Normandy when we are there next month?
Well, I think you know me well enough to know that I will definitely be bringing some stuff to Normandy with us. JD and I are going to film some artifact videos. And, since we're going to be on that tour with Matthew Settle, I'll probably have to bring, like, I don't know, maybe Spears dog tag or something cool like that. Somebody keeps asking, is there any haunted objects in the museum? Sorry to say, no. And I mean, that's the truth. I mean, nothing levitates, nothing's turning around or anything. And sometimes I wish it was. I could probably make a lot of money. A lot of people in this town make money from that. But unfortunately, there really isn't anything haunted in the museum that I know of. I've never seen anything weird happen. And I mean, we have really weird stuff. I mean, we have a freaking mummy in there. Now, don't you think that place should be like off the charts with paranormal activity? It's not. Sorry.
Somebody asked me if I'm doing any Pacific War content or if there's any more Pacific War content coming up soon. I'm planning on traveling to some Pacific War spots this summer. Haven't quite nailed it down, but yeah, I'm definitely planning on getting that knocked out.
And the person with the Buchenwald items did follow up. It's way up there now, saying that it might be a little sensitive, but just send us an email. If you don't feel comfortable sending a photo, just send us an email and tell us what it is. There were some pretty macabre things that came out of Buchenwald. So if it has something to do with that, we still would be interested in at least learning about it.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Let's see. Do you have any artifacts that pertain to the Japanese bombing of the West Coast of the United States during World War II? I don't think you do.
I wish. Yeah, that's interesting.
Somebody said, "Can I get a dadgum?" I guess I use that word more than I think that I do. What's the process of becoming a curator or director of a museum?
Well, most people go through, there's college courses that you take for that. Or you just learn how to do it yourself like I did. I kind of just did it. I collected the stuff. I bought and sold military and other antiques for years and years and years. And, I had so many items in my collection and, I was buying and selling. Somebody said, you should just open a museum. And I was like, you can't do that. Nobody can, you just can't just open a museum. Well, I just did. And, I learned as I went along. I learned a lot of stuff, online, asking other people who were educated curators. And, I did not go to school for that. I picked it up myself. And, some people like the way I curate the museum. Other people don't. There's the modern museum where you just have a bunch of text panels and video screens. And then there's the old school museum like I have that has tons of awesome artifacts. And that's what I like. So.
Let's see. What else?
Did your mummy come from the Michael Chandler something? Michael Chandler collection from the 19th century? No, actually it came from the Robert L. White collection. Not originally, but he had it I think he sourced it in the 1960s or 70s. And I visited it for the first time at his collection. He sadly passed away a while ago now. And I was able to get it from his family.
All right. Let's see. Sorry, these questions are going by pretty fast.
Yeah, they're
so
it's hard to read all this.
To keep up with on some of them. Any plans for religious history? Yes. So I've got some sites tied to biblical history that I'm going to be tackling this summer, and I'm really excited about that. Something that's meaningful to me. It's also going to be something that's really different for the channel. I'm wanting to kind of expand the channel and get some different things on there. So anyway, yeah, got to answer that question.
Somebody said stay old school. All right. I will, Steve Risso. And what's that? Somebody's asking about Operation Market Garden, and JD and I have talked about that. I would really like to bring some of the artifacts back there. We've done most of the other Band of Brothers sites. We're doing, we did some stuff in Bastogne. We're doing more this fall. But yeah, we will definitely get to the Netherlands at some point and do some really cool Operation Market Garden stuff. And they specifically said Nijmegen, and I have some stuff for the 82nd as well.
That's cool. Let's see what else.
Do you have probably said Nijmegen wrong.
Sorry. Guarantee it. Do you have any Russian World War II items at the museum?
I have a few little things. They're put away in the archives.
I've got personally, I have some medals.
Yeah, I don't have much. So.
Yeah, I would like to. When you start getting into Russian stuff and Soviet stuff, that it's there's a minefield of fakes out there. Let's see.
Sorry if I'm making weird faces. I'm trying to read these questions. They're going so fast that it's
best place in Italy to visit for World War II sites.
Hey, I said Nijmegen right.
Did you?
Well, I guess somebody says you said it very good, Eric, and it looks like a guy from the Netherlands, Rob Ivan. I won't attempt to say that, but thank you very much. I'm happy about that.
Any plans for Stalingrad, Eastern Front? I think I'd have a little bit of difficulty getting into Russia right now.
Yeah.
But I would love to go there.
I really want to go there too, but we have to let the world calm down a little bit, I think, before we start doing that.
Yeah. Oh, Eric, Eli says hi.
Oh, hello, Eli.
Chris's son from Vlogging Through History.
Oh, okay. Hey, Eli. Now that's a smart kid there.
I want to hire that kid.
I do too.
And have him.
There was another question there. Man, it's going so fast.
Okay. Here. Okay. So Carl and Dawn, thanks for the super chat. Do you get any flack from German World War II artifacts?
Ooh. Not in the museum so much. We do get some comments sometimes on some of the videos. We have like a little disclaimer sign, but we have so many other things in the museum. We do get people triggered sometimes. So for the people who've been to our museum, the first two rooms are more 19th century stuff. So, but the third room, when you get into the World War II stuff, there's some pretty big German images in there. There's a giant Hitler bust, and there's the Deutschlander Standard, and there's a giant eagle. And so like people get in there and we have cameras everywhere, and we have some monitors up where I sit sometimes. And sometimes I can see them and I can see they're getting triggered and their eyes get big and they like don't know what to do. and they just run out the door, and it's like, oh, I guess they were triggered. And, and it's sad, if you just stay in there and read about what's in there and keep going through the museum. We have another room afterwards that has a bunch of JFK items. Whoops, I'm going to knock something down. But I always feel like, if you get so triggered by the German stuff, if you get to the JFK room, you can calm down a little bit. But it is kind of interesting to watch people get triggered. I'm not trying to do that on purpose. I mean, we're trying to educate people, but nobody has really said anything. You just have people walk out sometimes, and that's really about the extent of it.
So I see some comments every once in a while, anytime we have some German stuff from World War II that we show. And my take on it is the fact that all of that stuff is here to me is a symbol of victory.
Right.
That the good guys won and the bad guys lost, or this evil regime was defeated. The victors in that conflict took these things as souvenirs to kind of remember their service in the war and what they did. I've gone into the basements of World War II veterans, and there's Nazi flags hanging up there, and there's all the stuff that they brought back. Okay, they're not Nazis, obviously. So these things, are to me are symbols of victory, and they are pieces of history. Even the history that makes you uncomfortable is still of value. And anybody who would, of course, hijack that and try and use it for some hateful purpose is ridiculous, and we wouldn't support that. But okay.
Walk with history. It makes you if it makes you nervous, I think that is good. So it's never forgotten. Yeah, very good.
Walk with History, outstanding channel.
Yeah.
Also, Tamitha, thank you for the super chat there. What's coming up next on the channel? So right now it's just a bunch of random stuff that I'm putting out. As we mentioned earlier, we're getting ready to travel back to Normandy. Got some cool stuff that we're going to be doing there. I'm going to be also dipping my toe into the water of ancient history and showing some things there. It won't be a lot, but it'll be a little. And then some World War I stuff. Yeah.
There's something about Hyrcan Forest here. We were there in this last trip, and what an amazing place. That was the first time I was there. We were there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, got to go there with a veteran of the 4th Infantry Division who fought at the Hyrcan Forest. JD, do you have any Japanese balloon bomb videos? No, I sure don't, but that would be cool. Erik, what camera do you use? I can tell you one thing, Erik doesn't use jack when it comes to technical equipment. So I think that question
there's a what's that, the blue thing there?
Oh, a super chat. By the way, I use a Panasonic GH5.
But it's Mark Lawrence. Is that?
Oh yeah, Mark. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah.
Any New York plans? Yeah, I want to get up to Ticonderoga.
Isn't Mark Lawrence one of the Band of Brothers actors?
I don't know.
Mark Lawrence, are you an actor?
I also want to go to New York City. I've never been to New York City before. I know there's a lot of historical stuff there, and I really want to go to Sagamore because Teddy Roosevelt is the coolest president who ever lived. Oh, I missed a super chat. Ron Ferris, or Paris, I'm sorry. Thank you for the super chat there, man. That is very much appreciated. Oh my gosh, it just skipped down. All right, we're just going to roll with what we got. Let's see. Walk with History. Thank you for the shout out. You're one of the most gracious history YouTubers. Oh, thanks. There are no military vehicles in the museum. They wouldn't fit.
Somebody said something about Victorian artifacts. I saw the American artifact with hair locks. I loved it. Oh, we have some stuff. Yeah,
I love that hair lock video.
Yeah.
That one was so neat to me. I'm not trying to brag on my own content, but the artifact, I love.
Well, we have a lot of famous hair locks in the museum, and we get questioned about them quite a bit, and people didn't understand, why did you have pieces of hair from famous people, and we explained in the video, and it's one of the videos on Artifact, and about why they took them, as a memento and all that, and like before photography, it really started, and it's a way of having something from a loved one who has departed that you can keep with you, and really kind of faded out after photography became accessible. So
I've had somebody asking a few questions. I've seen it pop up a few times about
ML was a BOF.
Yeah, somebody asking about World War II sites in Italy. Any suggestions? Might be going to Sicily this summer. Maybe. Not sure.
Yeah.
But get back to me in 4 months and I can tell you what I would maybe recommend. Charlie Benson, thanks for the super chat. Any plans on doing content on the Korean War? Yeah, 100%. A lot of the stuff that I do with the History Traveler, it's obviously location based. So I have to actually go there. But I mentioned earlier, my grandpa fought there. So I really want to go to Korea.
Here's the thing about fake militaria. If you buy from the Gettysburg Museum of History history.com, you don't have to worry about that. We vet everything. So I understand that, there's definitely a lot of fake stuff, especially with the German items, but buy from us, it's guaranteed.
Yeah. So another one asking about the next presidential grave that is on my list, probably Lincoln. I need to go do a video there, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff in Springfield that you can do. Yeah, somebody just mentioned there's some ancient history sites in Sicily as well. So yeah, with Italy, Sicily, all that, I could knock out a lot of hopefully interesting content.
Hey, Dan Sauer, good friend of mine. Keep up the awesome job, guys. Keep history alive, especially for kids and adults too. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. So a decent point there. That the main reason that I started this channel to begin with was as an educational tool for teachers, to help get students interested in history. So anytime that people take the channel and they share it with others, that is a huge help. But man, I especially love it when I hear people say, my son or my daughter, I got them watching your channel and they love it, or I get feedback from teachers. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Mark Lawrence. Oh, thanks for the super chat. No, I'm not an actor. But a fun fact, my first cousin, 8 times removed, is President Andrew Jackson. Any sports history plans? That's a really good one. Yeah, I need that. That's a really good idea. That's something that I haven't really thought about too much. Robbie Keck, thanks for the super chat there. My grandfather served on the Mighty Mo in World War II. Any plans on visiting some Pacific theater sites such as Midway? Midway's tough. Iwo Jima? Iwo Jima's tough. Or mainland Japan? Or maybe the Philippines. Japan or the Philippines are the most likely, because those are the easiest to access. And now that I'm reading that book about the 11th Airborne, there's so much on the Philippines that I'm wanting to see.
So somebody said about having a history mystery box for sale on the website. We talked about that before, and then need more AH silverware. I guess that means for sale. I have not been able to find it lately. Whenever I can get it, I put it on the website, but it has really been tough to find lately.
So do you display scale models of military vehicles, aircraft, or ships in your museum? Thanks for the super chat, by the way.
I have a few little things, but not really. Again, it's room, but in the new annex, we're going to probably have some stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody's a descendant of Jefferson Davis. Okinawa has a memorial we're seeing. Yeah, I want to go to Okinawa. More box openings. I've got 3 unboxing videos in the queue that
that's right.
that I'll be releasing. Yeah, we did some unboxing videos the last time I was out there, but I just haven't released them yet. So yeah, those will be coming out. And oh my gosh, there's some crazy stuff that comes in here. It's stupid. Let's see. I got a few German World War II items. Wondering if there's a site or anything to get information on them. Really, I guess it would depend on the item, really. Do you know of any online resource that you can go? Jeez. Books are a pretty good bet.
If you almost online. Anything of the German items or even any of the World War II items are online now. You just start Googling them, and usually you can find information. It wasn't like that just a few years ago. It's just like just about everything is on there now. So
yeah.
Do you get negative flack with Civil War history, like Confederate artifacts with the recent history? We did when the Confederate flag controversy started. There was some of that. Most of the museums had both flags flying here. Most do not anymore. And the monument thing got really crazy for a while. It was really kind of bad for a while, and there was like this campaign in Gettysburg to make everyone take down the Confederate flag and all that, and we didn't do that. I mean, we're a museum, so we're certainly not going to do that. Some of the museums banned Confederate memorabilia from their gift shops, and we didn't do that either. I feel like they're educational tools. And we have a gift shop in the back of the museum. We sell reproduction Confederate money for teachers and stuff like that. We sell the real stuff, but then we have a gift shop, and we had the Confederate kepis and the Confederate flags and stuff, and we never took our stuff out of the gift shop. you know, we just rode that out. I just thought that was ridiculous. A lot of the more PC museums did take that stuff out, but we didn't. You know, we're kind of um, we're kind of anti-PC when it comes to that stuff, and we even had some T-shirts and some mugs that had some slogans on, like we'd rather be historically accurate than politically correct and stuff like that. So anyway, we're gonna get some hate mail for that, I'm sure. But yeah,
Lee, thanks for the super chat there. Had some relatives that were killed by the Japanese balloon bombs in Oregon. Dang, I want to get up to
wow.
Oregon and tell that story one of these days because a lot of people don't know about that, and that's a pretty fascinating little unknown corner.
Oh, good. We got some support for what I just said.
Let's see. If you ever go to Long Island for TR, maybe we can hook up. My wife hails from Setauket. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to try and do some more like meetups and things like that.
Oh, here's this thing. I have a signed document by Sadat Begin, and Jimmy Carter may be donating it to library. Does that mean our library? I hope. Do you know? I mean, maybe this is why they're saying that when Sadat and Begin met at camp, they had the Camp David Accords. They came up to Gettysburg, and we had lots of photos of that in our archives. So Jimmy Carter brokered that peace with them. It was done in, I believe, most of it at Camp David, but they did come to Gettysburg, and we have some. You know, the photos are just amazing. You know, we've posted them a few times on our Facebook page. You know, we post a lot of our vintage photos on our Gettysburg Museum of History Facebook page, and you know, I always say, you know, the Civil War wasn't the only thing that happened on the Gettysburg battlefield. It was pretty neat stuff.
It's probably one of the biggest misconceptions with Gettysburg, and Jared Frederick is doing some excellent work right now. He has a channel called Real History that is really good. Again, worth checking out. But talking about how, you know, there's so much more to the history here in Gettysburg beyond the 3-day battle that happened here in 1863. And anytime like we show stuff, you know, with World War II, I'll inevitably get some comments of people saying, you know, what does World War II have to do with Gettysburg, or what does World War I have to do with Gettysburg? And the answer is a lot. I mean, if you go to the National Cemetery, there's burials there from the Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II. So anyway, well, hopefully this channel is helping to kind of broaden people's understanding.
Somebody wrote, do the super chats go to the museum or to the channel? Super chats go to the channel. If they ask about donating to the museum, you'd have to go to the Gettysburg Museum of History.com page and go to the foundation, and you can donate direct. I don't want to take anything from JD. He gets the money for the channel. We do our own thing with the museum, but he helps. He's on our board and everything. So it's a great partnership. It's a win-win.
So do you want to tackle the Hitler DNA thing? Well, we talked about that earlier. Somebody asked if the cut cloth from Hitler's couch was it ever tested for DNA. Yeah, it's Hitler's.
Yeah. Here's a good one. Do you have anything from the German POW camp at the Gettysburg Museum? Not directly from the Gettysburg POW camp, but we have ones from other POW camps. There really isn't anything from there. I do have some stuff that was carved and sold to a guard. We think it came from there, but it's not, it's not 100% documented. The only thing I've really seen that's 100%, I do know in another collection, there is a carving that a prisoner made and sold it to one of the guards, and it says Gettysburg and has the date and everything. And I've been after it for years, but the guy won't sell it to me, and maybe someday. But there really isn't a whole lot that's directly attributed to the Gettysburg POW camp, unfortunately.
Yeah. Adams County Historical Society has a few photos.
Yeah, there's photos. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they have any physical objects.
I don't think so. Nope.
From there.
Nope.
But anyway, somebody asked about French and Indian War. Yeah, it's if I didn't have 8 jobs, and half of them being full-time jobs, I would have more time to devote to some of that stuff. Let's see, Battle of New Hope Church in Kennesaw Mountain. I've got a video on Kennesaw Mountain. So if you go to the YouTube search and type in History Traveler Kennesaw Mountain, It'll pop up. My great great grandpa fought there. Was with the 27th Illinois. What is the best time of year to schedule a trip to Gettysburg? I'll give you my personal opinion, and then the guy who lives here can give you his. Personally, I would go not October. Maybe into November or September. Some of those shoulder times where it's maybe like not during tourist season. I've been here in like March and really loved it. You kind of have it to yourself. I'm going to be experiencing the spectacle of the anniversaries though, so we'll see.
Yeah, the summers are busy. October is busy because of the ghost industry here. And there are different events. I would do a lot of research and see if there's any events on a given weekend. But I think the spring, March, April is the best time. It hasn't really kicked off yet. It may be a little chilly sometimes, but that's when the town's coming awake for the summer. It's, I think, in my opinion, the best time. You go towards the end of the season, a lot of people are tired, the seasonal people. So March, April is the best time, I think.
I like that really, really early spring before the leaves start turning green, because when the trees are bare, you can see the terrain, and a lot of things with the battle make a whole lot more sense when you can actually see everything out in the woods.
Can you back up a little bit?
What do you got?
I thought I saw some. Am I weird if I show up in your museum in full paratrooper battle rattle? It happens from time to time. That's not weird at all.
Do you have anything from the Hindenburg?
I do.
Yep.
Yeah, that was actually in one of the.
It's one of the unboxing videos.
Yeah, we already showed that.
That was
so one of the unboxing videos, and that was when JD convinced me to do an unboxing. I wasn't quite sure about doing that, but like literally, he came to the museum one day when like a bunch of really amazing things came in, and one of the items was a donation of a piece of the struts from the Hindenburg. He said we should do an unboxing, and I was like, okay, and so we that's really the only piece I have, and there's a video, so check it out.
Carl and Don, thanks for the super chat. Your thought on the theory that Hitler escaped? Zero.
Yeah,
0% chance.
Zero.
He died in the bunker.
And we can get into it, and I'll talk forever on that. But I mean, his whole inner circle was turning his back on him. There's no way somebody wouldn't have turned him in on the way out. All those other people that killed themselves in the bunker, the Goebbels family and everything. Like, how do you explain that if he got out? There's just so many things. And there's a great documentary from a series in the 70s that was on BBC. It was called The World at War. And there was this one called the 2 Deaths of Adolf Hitler. And they interviewed everyone who was still alive at that time from the bunker. And if you can find it, it used to be on YouTube. I don't think it is anymore, but watch it. You'll change your mind for sure.
And think about how difficult it would be to keep that secret.
Right.
Like at some point, somebody is going to talk. And the series Hunting Hitler on History Channel has unfortunately really fed into that notion that, did Hitler possibly escape? And even the people who were behind that show didn't think that he got out. I saw another question. I can't remember what it was. Are you open to accepting pieces for Global War on Terror?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Info at Gettysburg Museum of History.com. Send us some pictures and an email, please.
Yeah. Any plans for you guys to start your own podcast? I actually thought about that before I started the YouTube channel. My original plan was to do a history podcast. I even had a whole bunch of plans mapped out on like what the episodes would be.
Well, we have so much extra time.
Yeah. But man, there's so many great podcasts out there.
There is.
I don't know if I would be able to add anything that's any better, to be honest with you. Let's see.
The World at War was the best and most accurate historical documentary ever filmed. It's certainly up there. And, if you can ever watch it, it's pretty good. I remember growing up with it as a kid, and it is amazing.
Yeah. Let's see. Erik, do you think of yourself as a teacher, historian, or collector? And you can't say all of them. Pick one. What do you see yourself as first and foremost? How about that?
What I enjoy the most is collecting, the hunt, finding the items, but the rest of it goes with it. So it's kind of hard to really pick that apart, but I mean, that's how I got into the other stuff. So I guess a collector number one.
2Box, thanks for the super chat there. 19, learned a lot of history from you and JD and Erik. Thanks.
Nice.
Hey, that means a lot. I mean, that's the sole reason this channel exists. Curtis, thanks for the super chat. Any chance you would visit Colditz Castle? I would love to do that. I think that would be so stinking cool. Again, it's just a matter of, I just don't have the time to hit as many places as I would like. Let's see. Rob, by the way, I'm not even pre-reading these. I'm just like, I see a question mark and I just read it. I'm going to Gettysburg Museum of History this summer. Would love to talk to Erik. He's around. How do you deal with people thinking you're a Nazi if you have Nazi items? We dealt with that question a little bit earlier. All these World War II soldiers who brought back Nazi items, were they Nazis? No, it's a sign of victory.
Right. And somebody asked about Ed Bears, and he was a historian. He was probably one of the premier Civil War historians. He was also a Marine Corps veteran, severely wounded in World War II. He came to my museum one time, actually more than once, but the first time he came to my museum, he brought a bunch of people in, and he had never been there before. And he started going through the museum, reading the descriptions, and it was like he was the guide at the museum. It was unbelievable. He had a story about each item, and it was not planned or anything. And the people that were there that day, it just blew my mind. I mean, that guy was brilliant. He knew everything. He was a real historian, and yeah, he had a unique voice, and the way he was projecting.
John Brown.
It was so cool. Great memory there. I let him hold Lincoln's wallet, by the way. So
that was the worst Ed Bears impression that's probably ever been done, by the way.
Yeah, I don't even want to attempt it.
All right, we got maybe we'll grab a few more questions here, and then we'll need to jump off. Any black sand from Iwo Jima at the museum?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
I actually had some dropped off last night by Jared. Jared Frederick, my co-author on Hang Tough and Fierce Valor, just got back from there, and he just brought me a nice little cup of it. So thank you, Jared.
Yeah, he brought me back a little vial of Iwo Jima sand as well. Let's see here. Have you visited Verdun? No, I have not. I was really my summer plans are still fluid, and I was really hoping to go to Verdun, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not, because I might have some other things that might supersede that, and then I'll do Verdun in the future. Spotsylvania, I've been to Spotsylvania, but not on the channel. Oh my gosh, here's one that says urgent. Please do a video on American POW camps in the U.S. during World War II. So I'm assuming that means like POW camps that were set up for Germans and Japanese. You might like one of the videos that's coming out this week. Let's see. Do you guys get starstruck meeting famous folks? No. I'll tell you what, I do almost get a little bit starstruck though is some of these World War II veterans. That when I see those guys and know like where they fought or where they served, that's when I that kind of gets me. All right, let's do just maybe one or two more. Let's see. You should come to New Zealand to do something with the Anzacs. I would love to come to New Zealand. Yeah. That would be sweet. And I really like Lord of the Rings. And I would like to shoot a red stag down there.
Okay. Can't-
Okay. Anything? We'll do. Okay. We'll do two more. Anything from Patton at the museum?
Yeah, we have several items. And if you watch the shows one that just came on last week, I guess, I just got General Patton's boots that was in the museum in L'Église, Belgium. So that's pretty cool. And I have his razor, I have one of his books, and I have one of his silver pieces from his silver service. So, yep, got some Patton stuff.
Cool. Somebody's asked about the USS Intrepid in New York City a couple times. If and when I come to New York City, I am going to go there. Last one. Any plans to go to the show of shows in 2024? Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
We're both going to be there. I haven't told Eric yet, but I'm thinking about maybe trying to do like a group meetup
Cool.
one evening, maybe at a restaurant, or maybe we'll do something.
So for years, I sponsored a veteran, and it was Brad Freeman, and we lost him last year. So we didn't really have I didn't have it in me to do that again this year, but next year I will. I've been asked to bring some vets back, and I used to sign my book, or they would sign my book. People didn't really want my autograph. They wanted Brad's on there since he wrote Brad Freeman's, he wrote the foreword. So anyway, I would sponsor veterans. I've been asked to sponsor some next year. I think we're going to do that. We're probably going to set up, I'm hoping Jared can come. It's always a bad time for Jared at those dates. But you never know. And JD, of course, he's been there the last couple of years, and possibly Andy Biggio, from the Rifle. We've been talking about it. We did an event together in Belgium on this last trip, and it was real successful. We had a lot of people show up. So it might be a bunch of people there, and maybe some of the other YouTube guys, maybe Chris will come, and some other guys. So
that'd be awesome.
It should be a good time for sure.
All right. And then I said one more, but then a super chat came in. So we'll do this last one. And then I haven't ate all day long. And we're going to go get dinner. What got both of you so inspired about history? This is a really good one to end on.
Yeah.
So a couple things for me. One is my grandpa and my dad really got me into history. And really it was just telling the stories. And I think that when you study history, you're studying human nature. And the more we learn about history, the more we learn about ourselves. The more we study the past, I think the more answers we can have about some of the challenges that we have in the present.
So for me, it's the exact same thing. My grandfather grew up on the Gettysburg battlefield. He met General Sickles in 1913 during the 1913 reunion. He shook his hand. He was a little kid. But he told me stories like that. He met Civil War soldiers. And to me, Civil War soldiers were so far removed. But my grandfather was born in 1900. He had my mother later in life. My mother had me later. So he was an older grandfather, but he met Civil War soldiers. And that just fascinated me. And then I had some neighbors that were World War II vets, and this same grandfather also was a World War I vet. So, all that stuff was really my grandfather and his stories. He took me all around the battlefield and passed those stories on to me. And it's been very influential. And, I just was fascinated with history. I just connected through the objects. We had the Pfeffer collection in his basement, basically. He had all these Civil War relics, and just the fascination of holding relics in my hand and connecting with the past in that way.
All right. Thank you for the super chats. And hey, right there, you got two stories of people who were inspired by history because somebody invested in us.
Right.
So, hey, go out, keep telling the stories, share the channel, and let's keep expanding our historical knowledge.
And JD doesn't do a lot of self-plugging, but we're pushing 500,000 subscribers, so we're getting close. So let's get there, and we thank you for that, especially JD. And but we're getting real close, and I keep looking at that number grow. JD doesn't pay attention to stuff like that, but I do, and it's like it's getting higher, and one of these days we're gonna hit it, and we're gonna have a big party, and thank the viewers for that. For sure.
Thank you. Hey, you guys are seriously awesome. Have a good evening.
Good night.